For those who don't know, codec avatars have been a target for us for such a long time. We've talked about it all the way back at F8, actually, as well as Connect. Now it's just Connect. We are making really steady progress on that. We have great examples of codec avatars. You've probably seen them at Connect. What is the challenge? How do we actually get the capture, not just from a big capture rig, but from your cell phone in a short period of time in mixed lighting? How do we get the sensors to be able to pick up enough data to animate the capture, the codec avatar? And then how do we do the processing of such a high fidelity representation of self on a mobile chipset? Lots of engineering challenges, as well as continued research challenges, like how do we capture upper body? How do we do legs? How do we do clothing, hair, accessories? We are making progress on all of it. And I just had a great demo this week on device. So making progress, we are still years away. When EMG is really fully realized, which I think will take a while, more than a decade to be fully realized. We'll see early versions of it before then, but more than a decade to be fully realized. It will change everything. It will change everything. The typewriter, the keyboard that we have goes back to the telegraph days. And first the telegraph, right, was a single tap thing. And then you figured out that you could actually build a faster mechanism for typists to get through more volume more easily with less training on Morse code by building at first key sets and then chords and then ultimately typewriters, which is what they turned into when typewriting became a thing. So that is an old technology that we're still using, and it's a pretty great one. But and the mouse, goes back to the 1950s and 60s. Novel input technology takes a long time to integrate into society, and it's not displaced easily. But with things like the internet, and if you had totally ever-present, reliable, consistent EMG, every single device that you interact with, your house, your car, your microwave, your oven, they all have weird esoteric control schemes. Microwaves, famously the worst control scheme. I've never met a microwave that was actually liked using, that could be done so easily, universally. TV remotes, everything could be done with EMG and effortlessly. And I look forward to that. But that's a long ways out, like I said. So great EMG, more than a decade out. The integration into our everyday life are things that we're using that will take a long, long time, but it will be a profound change, and I think a lasting one. Great question, Ian. Yeah, so I think certainly something we're looking at. We've got Supernatural within. I think that's one of the reasons you bring in a talented group like that, is to let them do what they do, but also influence you earlier in your process of design and development. So that is something I think is going to be a thought for us, because I do think it's such an important important category, and I think it's probably actually a bigger category than we realize as it relates to more active games as well. It really depends on what part of XR you're talking about. If you really mean mixed reality, there hasn't been great mixed reality available yet. There's been good pass-through, getting better, but really meta reality that we launched with Quest Pro is, in my opinion, the first really widely programmable, accessible kit for doing that kind of work. We're only going to make that more programmable and accessible to a broader audience as time goes on, as we release more parts of the Presence platform that lets you identify and tag automatically things and objects in the space and make use of them in your programs. So we are just at the very beginning phase of mixed reality, which is how I interpret this question. I don't like the leaks, and I think they're bad, and they make it harder for us to do our jobs. But if you had to have a leak, I'm glad it was Alex Heath. I thought he was spot on with it, very straightforward in the coverage, and I thought I respect that about him. However, I do think one thing that is so seriously misunderstood is how the funnel of development for hardware works. Over the course of the time that I've been here, actually even going back before I've been here, I would wager we probably cancel 2 prototypes to every product that we ship. And so each of those teams developing those prototypes believe and want them to be the next headset. And when we put them on the schedule, we want them to be the next headset. But conditions change, and the lead times are so long, you have to have multiples in path if you want to be able to ship in position. And so you always have this position where you have headsets that are on the roadmap, and then they're not. Does that mean the project is canceled? No. There will be a Quest Pro sequel. We had a couple of candidates that we liked. We decided they weren't quite the right trade-off for what we were trying to deliver to the market at the right time based on signals we're getting from the market. So we make changes to the roadmap. We fold those learnings into another prototype. Those teams go work on the next piece. But this is just the very natural course of hardware design where you have long lead times, 18, 24, 36 months, depending on how many new technology initiatives you want to fit in, and how much risk there is. And you're getting market data all through that. And sometimes you can integrate that into the prototype. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes priorities just change as you learn more information, as competitors come out. So those teams didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't a huge, it was a shift, certainly, but not like one that was a devastating one. I do think people are inclined to read too much into prototype roadmap changes. I think Alex Heath is an outstanding journalist, and I think he did a very great, straightforward job reporting on the material he got access to. I do wish he had not gotten access to it. It certainly wasn't intentional, but it's a very straightforward reading of the situation. And he didn't get everything right in his newsletter. I'm not going to tell you what he got wrong because I like you to wonder. I like to have a few secrets. He didn't get everything right, even though he had pretty good access through some leak, which I am absolutely working on.